The red wine hit Amir Jackson's face like a weapon. Sharp, deliberate, designed to humiliate him in front of 200 of the world's most powerful people. It dripped from his jaw onto his tailored suit. The ballroom at the Grandview Summit fell silent. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead like cameras, recording history. Amir stood frozen, every muscle tense. But 20 years of building an empire had taught him something Victoria Ashford would discover tonight. Patience was a weapon sharper than anger. Victoria lowered her empty wine glass with the grace of someone who'd never faced consequences. That, she announced, her voice carrying across the frozen ballroom, is what happens when people forget what they are. Executives in $1,000 suits turned to stare. Some looked shocked. Others wore barely concealed smirks. A few pulled out phones, already capturing the moment. Amir's hands twitched at his sides. His jaw clenched. The wine soaked through his shirt, spreading like a stain he couldn't wash away. This was supposed to be the biggest night of his career. $600 million hung in the balance, a merger between Ashford Industries and Jackson Global Innovations. And Amir Jackson owned one of them. But nobody in this room knew that. To them, he was just another black man who'd somehow slipped past security. Another face that didn't belong in their world of corner offices and inherited wealth. "I apologize for any confusion," Amir said quietly, reaching for a napkin with steady hands, even as rage built behind his ribs. Victoria's laugh was sharp. "Confusion?" She turned to Gerald Whitmore, Ashford's chief operating officer. "Did you hear that, Gerald? He's apologizing." Gerald's smile was all teeth, no warmth. "Well, at least he knows his place. More than we can say for most of them these days." That single word landed like a stone in Amir's stomach. It meant people like you don't belong here. It meant your skin color is your resume. "I should go," Amir said, his voice steady despite the fire building inside him. "Yes, you absolutely should," Victoria agreed, waving him away like discarding trash. "Security will escort you out. We requested a certain caliber of staff. You understand?" Amir understood perfectly. He understood that his Ivy League degree, his 20 patents, his six-figure income meant nothing when measured against the color of his skin in their eyes. He didn't explain. Didn't mention that 3 months ago, he'd approved a $50 million investment that kept her company from bankruptcy. Didn't say that Jackson Global Innovations was built by his grandmother 40 years ago, who'd faced closed doors at every turn and opened them anyway through sheer brilliance. He just nodded, turned, and walked toward the exit. Behind him, the party resumed like he'd never existed. Someone made a joke about diversity hires getting too bold these days, and the crowd roared with laughter that felt like violence. Amir found a bathroom 3 doors down, locked the door, stared at himself in the mirror. Wine dripped from his hair. His tie was ruined. His grandfather's voice echoed from a hospital bed 3 years ago. "Don't let them make you small. Amir, don't waste your energy on revenge. Make them irrelevant. Build something so undeniable that they become dust." Amir's hands weren't shaking. That was the thing about real rage. It didn't shake you. It crystallized you. It made you sharp. He pulled out his phone. "James, change of plans. Send me the spare shirt from my car. I'm going back in." "Mr. Jackson, are you certain? After what just happened? They need to see who they just humiliated. Let them show everyone exactly who they are before we show them who we are." 20 minutes later, Amir walked back into the ballroom, wearing a fresh shirt. The atmosphere shifted like a change in air pressure. He moved through the crowd slowly. At the center of it all stood Victoria Ashford, surrounded by admirers. She'd changed into an emerald green dress, trying to wash away what she'd done with expensive fabric. Amir spotted Alicia Thompson near the hors d'oeuvres table. Dark skin, intelligent eyes, phone in her hand like she was documenting something. He'd seen her profile during his research. Law degree from Georgetown, 5 years at Ashford Industries, passed over for promotion 3 times despite being the most qualified candidate. He approached quietly. Quite the party. She glanced at him, then at his still damp collar. Recognition flickered across her face. "You're the guy she—" "Yeah. You came back." She extended her hand. Alicia Thompson, Legal Department. Did you come back for revenge or for justice? Amir met her eyes. What's the difference? Everything. Revenge is what she did. Justice is what happens next. Alicia's hands trembled slightly as she lowered her voice. I've been documenting her behavior for 2 years. Microaggressions. Hiring decisions that always favor certain demographics. I'm one of 4 black employees in a company of 800. I have emails. I have recordings. She paused. When you stood there taking her wine like a man, not retaliating, I realized that's what courage looks like. And I recorded every second of the night. Before Amir could respond, Victoria's voice rang out. Oh my God. Security? The help is back. Now he's harassing my employees. Every conversation stopped. Heads turned like metal toward a magnet. Amir turned to face her slowly. Gerald stepped forward. Listen, nobody wants trouble here. This is a private event. Invitation only. Why don't you just leave quietly before this gets ugly? I don't want trouble either. Amir said evenly. I just wanted to apologize for earlier, for any confusion about why I'm here. Victoria blinked. Confusion? Honey, there's no confusion. You crashed a party you weren't invited to. Now, for the last time, leave before I have you arrested for trespassing. Trespassing, Amir repeated slowly at the Grandview Summit, the annual gathering of CEOs, decision makers. That's right, Gerald said. This event is for invited guests, people who belong here. Amir took a step forward. The crowd instinctively gave him space. And I don't belong here. Gerald's face reddened. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Your face said it. Victoria's wine glass said it. The way every person in this room looked at me and decided my entire worth in 3 seconds. That said it louder than words ever could. The silence was uncomfortable now. People shifted on their feet. Some looked away. Others couldn't stop staring. Victoria's eyes flashed. How dare you try to make this about something it's not? My company has diversity initiatives. We have minorities in several positions. Like Alicia? Amir gestured toward her. 1 of 4 in 800? We hire based on merit. Victoria snapped, her composure cracking. Not skin color. If certain demographics aren't represented, that's not our fault. Maybe if people work harder instead of playing a race card. There it is, Alicia said quietly. She held up her phone. The red recording that blinked in the corner. That's exactly what I was waiting for. Victoria went pale. You can't record without consent. Only one party needs a consent. I consent, and the EEOC will consent when I file my discrimination lawsuit Monday morning. Alicia's voice was steady now. I have 2 years of documentation, your hiring patterns, your promotion denials. And tonight, I have you on video saying if minorities aren't represented, it's because we're not good enough. That's textbook discrimination. The crowd erupted into whispers. Gerald grabbed Victoria's arm. Shut up. We need lawyers. Right now. But Victoria was past listening. She yanked free and pointed at Amir, her hand trembling. You know what? I'm glad I threw that wine at you. Someone needed to put you in your place. People like you think you can just walk into our spaces and demand respect you haven't earned. My family built this company from nothing. Your family bought this company, Amir interrupted quietly, 20 years ago, with inherited money from your great-grandfather's oil fortune, money made from exploiting black workers. My grandfather worked for your great-grandfather. He made 1/3 of what white workers made. He worked 16-hour days in dangerous conditions. He died at 42 from emphysema caused by those refineries. Amir paused. I read the lawsuit documents last week. I found his name. I found your family's signature on the contracts that determined his worth. Victoria's mouth opened and closed. How do you know all this? Gerald asked nervously. I do my research, Amir said, especially before doing business with someone. Business? Gerald laughed without confidence. Buddy, you're not doing business with anyone here. Actually, a new voice said from the doorway, crisp and authoritative, He's doing business with everyone here. Every head turned. Dr. Saracen stood in the entrance, silver hair catching the chandelier light, wearing an impeccable suit and carrying a leather folder. She walked into the room like she owned it, because in many ways she did. Allow me to introduce Amir Jackson, founder and CEO of Jackson Global Innovations, the company that, as of 9 a.m. this morning, owns controlling interest in 73% of the businesses represented in this room. She paused, including Ashford Industries. The silence felt physical. Victoria's champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. She stood there, staring at the broken glass, then at Sarah, then at Amir. Her face had gone gray, bloodless, like someone watching their entire world collapse. "No," she whispered. Then louder, "No, that's impossible. The Jackson Global CEO was supposed to arrive tomorrow." "The deal was finalized this morning," Sarah interrupted smoothly. "All paperwork signed. Your father voted yes, Victoria. He understood that without this merger, Ashford Industries would be bankrupt by Christmas. Your only option was to sell or disappear. You chose survival." Gerald's face had gone gray. "We would have known." "You know now," Amir said quietly. "And now everyone knows." Sarah held up the document. Jackson Global has acquired majority ownership for $600 million. The restructuring clause gives us full authority over leadership positions. Every decision that determines who belongs in rooms like this, that's ours now. Victoria's knees wobbled. "We have contracts. Leadership positions are at will during transition periods," Sarah said calmly. "It's airtight." Amir watched the realization creep across Victoria's face. She'd thrown wine at her new boss, called him to help in front of hundreds of witnesses, said things on camera that would define her professionally forever. She'd made calculations based on skin color and gotten every single answer wrong. "Amir!" Victoria's voice came out small, broken. "I didn't know. If I had known who you were, you would have treated me differently," Amir finished. "I know. That's exactly the problem. Your respect was conditional on my job title. Your basic human decency was something I had to earn by being powerful enough that you couldn't dismiss me. That's not respect. That's fear." He took a step forward. The crowd parted instinctively. All night, I asked myself one question. Do I go through with this deal? Do I save your company? But then I thought about people like Alicia, about everyone made to feel like they didn't belong. They deserve better. He turned to address the entire ballroom. His voice grew quieter but more powerful. 60 years ago, my grandmother had a dream. She wanted to build something. But banks wouldn't loan to her because of her gender and race. Landlords wouldn't rent to her. Investors wouldn't even take her calls. She built Jackson Global anyway, in a small office in Atlanta with borrowed money and 16-hour days. She taught me that dignity isn't something people give you. It's something you claim through your actions, your integrity, your refusal to become what they assume you are. He paused, letting the words settle into the room. She taught me that respect is about how you treat people when you think nobody's watching, when you think there are no consequences, when you think your power makes you untouchable. Tonight, you threw wine at me because you assumed I was nobody, because you looked at my face and decided that in 3 seconds. You were wrong. Amir turned to Sarah. "Send the paperwork to Ashford's legal team. Proceed with the merger as planned. Implementation begins Monday." Then he looked back at Victoria. "But you won't be part of it. You're fired. Effective immediately. Gerald, you too." Gerald's face flushed red. "You can't. Leadership positions are at will," Sarah said calmly. "It's airtight." Amir found Alicia in the crowd. Tears streamed down her face, but these weren't tears of fear. These were tears of vindication. "Alicia Thompson, my assistant will call you tomorrow morning. I'd like to discuss a position as Chief Legal Officer for Jackson Global's East Coast operations. Significant pay increase. Full benefits. Stock options. You won't be one of 4 anymore. You'll be part of a leadership team where your talents actually matter." Alicia's hand flew to her mouth. She nodded, speechless, overwhelmed. Amir looked at Victoria one final time. She stood there, mascara running, diamonds glittering against skin turned gray with shock. Her future had been rewritten in 10 minutes. I hope you learned something from this, but I doubt you will. Because the real tragedy isn't that you threw wine at me. It's that you genuinely believe you had the right to. He walked toward the exit. This time, nobody tried to stop him. The crowd parted silently. As Amir reached the doorway, someone started clapping, slowly at first. Then another person joined. Then a third. Within seconds, roughly half the room was applauding. Not everyone. Some faces were still twisted with resentment. But enough people clapped. Enough recognized what had just happened. Justice. Accountability. Power meeting truth. Amir didn't look back. He walked through the door, Sarah following close behind, the sound of applause fading into the night. That, Sarah said quietly, was the most expensive glass of wine in corporate history. Amir smiled for the first time all night. It was worth every drop. 3 months later, the morning sun streamed through the renovated Ashford Industries boardroom, now Jackson Global's East Coast headquarters. Alicia Thompson stood near the window, holding a tablet. She'd been chief legal officer for 11 weeks. The old portraits had been taken down. On the walls now were photos of diverse teams. And one image that stopped her every time. Amir's grandmother, Margaret Jackson, smiling in front of a small office in Atlanta in 1985, holding up the first contract Jackson Global ever signed. Below it, a plaque read, "Dignity is claimed, not given." Amir entered with his management team, 9 people representing 7 countries. The kind of leadership that reflected actual diversity of talent, not inherited privilege. Ready for the shareholder meeting? Amir asked, "We're up 43% since restructuring." Alicia said, "Retention rates are up 68%. We've attracted talent from competitors tired of toxic environments. The shareholders are going to love this." "They're going to love us," Amir corrected. "You built half this turnaround." Through the window, Alicia could see the Grandview Hotel where everything had changed, where she'd stopped being silent, where a glass of wine had rewritten the future for thousands of people now working for a company that actually valued them. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Taking over Ashford? It would have been easier to let it fail." Amir looked at his grandmother's photo. She didn't build Jackson Global because it was easy. She built it because people said she couldn't. She taught me that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's success. Not just for yourself, but for everyone they said wasn't good enough. And Victoria? Last I heard, she's working for a PR firm, making 30% of what she used to, filing lawsuits that keep getting dismissed. Amir smiled slightly. She thought her power protected her. Turns out, it just made her fall harder. The boardroom began filling with shareholders. Alicia noticed something that would have been impossible 6 months ago. The room was genuinely diverse. Different faces, different backgrounds, all gathered as equals. All here because Jackson Global had proven something Victoria Ashford never could. Respect isn't inherited. It's earned. One decision at a time. One person at a time. One brave choice at a time. Amir took his seat at the head of the table. As the meeting began, he caught Alicia's eye and gave her a small nod. The kind that said, "You belong here. We all belong here now." Later that morning, Victoria Ashford sat in a studio apartment she'd rented at midnight. Her phone had 47 missed calls. Her inbox had thousands of emails. The video had been viewed 4.2 million times. News outlets were calling. Twitter was trending her name. She'd built her career on deciding who belonged in rooms. Now the entire world was deciding who belonged in hers. She watched the video again. Watched herself throw the wine. Watched the moment she realized who Amir was. Watched her entire future collapse in real time. Captured on video. Preserved forever. Outside, Amir Jackson was in a boardroom showing success. His walls displayed vision. His future was being written by merit, not inherited entitlement. Hers? Already written. Already done. Already over. And she was just beginning to understand what that meant.